listening to Boogie Nights, the ultimate 70s, 80s, and 90s radio show on Cool 98.3.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Boogie Nights, the ultimate 70s, 80s, 90s radio show here on Cool 98.3. I'm Dave Pena.
And I'm Val.
Let's get this party started!
Up on this week's Boogie Nights radio show, we got The Beat, dedicated to all the drummers that keep the beat and keep us going. Tonight's guests include legendary drummers Lez Warner from the Cult, Stephanie Seymore from the Aquanettas, and Gina Schock from the Gogos. Plus, a decade that rocked with rock and roll photographer Mark Weiss, sharing stories of iconic drummers like Tommy Lee and Frankie Banali from Quiet Riot and many more, as well as the hottest Boogie Nights mixes. It all starts right now on Cool 98.3.
Bueller.
I've been going to this high school for 7.5 years.
Bueller.
I know dumb.
Bueller.
I know high school. You're a huge party. Women everywhere.
You know, there's going to be sex, drugs, rock and roll, chips, dips, chains, whip. You know, your basic high school orgy kind of thing.
Schoolgirl, sleazy, with a classic kind of sassy, little skirt hanging way up her knee. It was 3 young ladies in the school gym locker, and they found they were looking at D. I was a high school loser, never made it with a lady. Till the boys told me something I miss. Then my next door neighbor, the daughter had a favor, and I gave the girl a little kiss. Like,
surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
What was that ruckus?
What ruckus?
I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Could you describe the ruckus, sir?
The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
No, I throw a mouth. I don't fool around with no Oscar Mayer wiener. You must be sure that your girl is pure for the funky cold Medina. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no plans with a band. This is the 80s and Logan's down with the ladies.
If any of you guys got dates besides Gilbert, I do. Yeah, but that's with a guy. What about you, Booger? I've been out combing the high schools all day.
I just can't get enough. 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 I just can't get enough.
Yeah, once again, I am Hans.
And I am Franz, and we just want to pop.
You are.
Wax on. Wax off.
Pump it up. Pump it up. Pump it up.
Remember, dear, no question.
Yeah, but
Light and wax on, wax off.
Pump the jam, pump it up, yo, pump it, pump it, pump it, pump the jam, pump it up and up and up and up and pump the jam, pump it up, yo, pump it, pump it, pump it, pump the jam, pump it up and 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 pump it up.
oh, sexy girlfriend.
Spangler, You got slime!
He slimed me.
Salt and pepper's here and we're in effect. Want you to push it back, cooling my days and at night, working up a sweat. Come on, girls, let's go show the guys that we know how to become number one in a hot body show. Now push it.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious
chicken.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
It's over. Go home. Go.
And now, our next guest, Lez Warner, a British-born musician and producer, primarily a drummer best known for his work with The Cult. Born and raised in the Fulham area of London, Warner's dream was to follow in the footsteps of Thin Lizzy's Brian Downey. He bought his first drum kit at age 13. He continued playing drums into the 1970s, playing with several bands at a time, and became a drum legend of London's club scene. When punk rock exploded in 1976, his steam hammer style was perfect for punk and versatile enough for other musical styles. Warner did sessions with everyone from Sham 69, Here and Now, Johnny Thunders to the Waterboys, and Julian Lennon. Here he is, Lez Warner.
Les, thank you so much for joining us on Boogie Nights Radio. It's so great to have you. I got to tell you something. The Cult and your drum work was phenomenal. And it really was like the sort of wallpaper of my childhood, or at least growing up in the 80s. MTV, you were on there constantly. You were rocking it out. You were touring constantly. The Cult was like no other band. Can you tell us how you first got into the rock business and what got you inspired to be a drummer?
Yeah, well, my dad would come home at the weekends from work, and he would bring a cardboard box with him, and in the cardboard box was full of 45 records, little 45s.
Yep.
And in front of the records there was candy. Chocolate. So he weaned me in, totally weaned me into it. And then growing up in London, and we had people living upstairs, and my best friend was upstairs. We loved music, and we listened to the Beatles and the Kinks and the Stones. It was just a part of my life, part of everything growing up, and just listening to music, The music was so great back then. So my friend who lived upstairs, he went on guitar, and then I went on drums. And it really escalated from there, really, I joined the Cult when I was about 24. 86, I joined the Cult.
How did you meet up with the Cult?
Well, I was in the scene in London. I was playing out in the scene. My manager told me about the audition, and then a friend of mine who I was in a band with him, he knew Billy Duffy, so it was common knowledge that they were looking for a drummer. They lost their drummer. So out of 160 drummers, I got the gig.
That's amazing. How every time I listen to the Cult records and I hear your drum beat, I know it's you.
Yeah.
I know it's you. It's like pouncing. It really has that certain effect. Now here it is, Les Warner, the rock star drummer from the Cult, with Love Removal Machine. Ooh. Rick Rubin produce one of your records?
That was the record he did. All right, this is the story of what happened. So we went into the studio to record the album that was after the Love album. I just heard all the Love album, you know. They had a session guy come in and did that record. It's before they got a drummer. So I toured the whole of the Love tour. And then we were getting ready to do the Electric record, which we actually went in with the same producer that did Love, okay? And we recorded the whole thing in a nice studio in London, in England, you know, Richard Branson's studio. But what happened is they weren't really happy with the mixes, so Ian and Billy took it to New York to have a meeting with Rick Rubin. So they played in the record, and he just said, no, I'm not going to mix this. But if you really want to do a rock and roll record, I will produce a record with you. So I got the phone call. I thought then I had already recorded the record. I thought it was done. And then I got a phone call Christmas Eve, I think it was, 86, the beginning of 86. We ended up re-recording the whole record again.
It really is iconic. I mean, the truth is, growing up, I think you and the Cult during the 80s absolutely inspired people like, you know, all the rock bands that you might have seen on MTV during the 80s, for sure. Because you guys had an original sound. What made you guys stand out to me, and maybe you could feed off on this a little bit, is your drum beat and everything when you did like Electric. That was hard and heavy. But at the same time, the other record was a little bit more gothic and a little bit more psychedelic. Yeah. And you know, so somehow it blended in between, and you got the goth kids. So you got the kids that like The Cure, but you also got the kids that like Motley Crue. So Electric, let's talk about that. When you went on tour with the Cult, what was it like being on tour as a drummer for the Cult?
Well, I mean, you know, this was my big break. You know, before the Cult, I mean, I played with a bunch of different people, with Julian Lennon and other people, with sessions and his. I did a tour with Randy California for Spirit. But this was like the real deal. You know, this was like, okay, this is a big band. I mean, I made it. It's like, okay. So, going on the road, it was crazy, you know. I mean, it was like 1 minute I'm signing on the dole to get my little bit of money to survive, and next minute I'm on the road with a rock and roll band, you know, living the dream, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed playing the Love stuff and the Dreamtime stuff. It was great, you know. I mean, I toured all over the world, you know. The Electric record was a different animal than the earlier stuff. So we have pretty much reinvented the band, really. They wanted that American market. So we went out with Billy Idol, you know, we toured with him. That was really cool. And then Guns N' Roses came out with us. They opened for us.
Right.
Which was a crazy thinking about it. But, you know, yeah, it's like life of rock and roll, man. It was just really cool. I mean, I made it.
One of my favorite songs of all time is Wildflower by The Cult, and Lez Warner hits the beat.
On this day, in year 1972, John Lennon says his phone is tapped by FBI on The Dick Cavett Show.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum.
Come and knock on our door.
Come and knock on our door.
Show me that smile.
Ooh, show me that smile.
You're in the mix with Boogie Nights' own DJ Gabor, Kiss, and DJ Kevin
on time. It's tricky, it's uptight. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. That's right, on time. It's tricky. It's tricky, tricky. Huh.
Back in the city, night is a wire. Steam in the subway, earth is a fire. In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Smell like a sound, I'm lost in a crowd, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
No whammies, no whammies, no whammies, and big butts. Stop it already.
Let me tell you a story about a little fat boy. I used to like to beat him up, you know. I grab him, I go, why are you so bad? Why are you so bad? And I beat the shit out of him.
It's a cruel summer. Leaving me here on my own. It's a cruel summer. Now you're gone.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Let's do it for Johnny, man. We'll do it for Johnny.
Watch this.
What the gives you freedom? Freedom brings opportunity. Opportunity makes your future.
Break it down for me, fellas.
I'm doing steady, and I French kiss. So everybody does that. Yeah, but Daddy says I'm the best at it.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey. Brass monkey, chunky, that funky monkey.
You're listening to Boogie Nights, the ultimate 70s, 80s, and 90s radio show on Cool 98.3.
Hey there, this is DJ Joey Dino, and you're tuned into Boogie Nights Radio, the ultimate 70s, 80s, and 90s radio show, hosted by Dave Pena and So Val, right here on Cool 98.3. Boogie Nights Radio, the ultimate 70s, 80s, and 90s radio show.
share of this world's delight. High hopes we had for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family. Sing it to me. I got all my sisters with me. Sing it to me. I can hear you guys. Everybody say, ooh. Have faith in you and the things you do. Hey, I got all my sisters with me.
Atlantic City, it's Thursday night. You're tuned into Boogie Nights Radio, the ultimate 70s, 80s, and 90s radio show. Right here on Cool 98.3.
Must be missing an angel. Missing one angel child. You're here with me right now. Your love is everything, baby. Everything to me, baby. Your kiss filled with tenderness. I want all I can get. Of your sexiness, showers. Your love comes in showers, and every hour, you let me feel your love in power. There's a rainbow over my shoulder. When you came, my heart running over. You gave me your heavenly love, and if one night you came crying on me, because heaven must be missing an angel, missing one angel child. You're here with me right now. You're mine, baby, heavenly to me, baby. My sweet little angel, my pretty little angel. I love you, baby. Say right now. Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and a dress got down her leg. She would merengue and do the cha-cha. And while she tried to be a star, the pony always tended far across the crowded floor. They worked from 8 till 4. They were young and they had each other. Who could ask for more at the Copacabana? The hottest spot north of Havana. At the Copacabana. Music and passion were always the fashion at the Copa. They fell in love. His name was Rico. He wore a diamond. He was escorted to his chair. He saw Lola dancing there, and when she finished, he called her over. But Rico went a bit too far. Tony sailed across the bar, and then the punches flew, and chairs were smashed in two. There was blood and a single gunshot, but just who shot who at the Copacabana? The hottest spot north of Havana. At
Our next guest, Stephanie Seymore, drummer from the all-female band the Aquanettas, a quintessential New York City rock band who broke in the late 80s and early 90s and took the city by storm. Their music was influenced by classic rock such as Led Zeppelin, the Go-Go's, and punk bands such as X, mixed with other surf rock overtones. Featured in MTV's 120 Minutes, as well as toured with some of the most iconic bands internationally, all the while returning back to the hottest rock clubs in New York City as home base. Here she is, Stephanie Seymore.
Thank you, Stephanie Seymore from the band, the Aquanettas. I'm so excited to have you on. You're one of my favorite drummers in the world.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. I'm so glad to be here. You have no idea.
That's awesome. Tell us how you first got into drumming.
Well, I know exactly how. I was 15 years old and I saw the Go-Go's. Well, first of all, I saw them on MTV, the Go-Go's and the Police. And then I actually got to see them in concert on January 22nd, 1982. I know the date, like it's seared into my mind. And then I asked my dad for a drum set, like the next day, and he said yes, which I was shocked. But they totally inspired me to play. And also, you know, my uncle played drums, so I kind of just knew, I just knew I could play drums. It was a thing that I was really drawn to. I was always banging on stuff when I was young. So.
That's awesome. Well, you got the beat. That's a good thing.
I got it. I got the beat.
You got the rhythm too. So
that's right.
So your first band that you're ever in, was it the Aquanettas or another band?
It was really actually high school bands. I mean, they obviously not professional bands, but just those were I had two bands in high school with my best friend Kendra. New Religion, which was named after a Duran Duran song, of course, and then another band, another iteration called The Arrival. But the Aquanettas, you know, I had actually stopped playing drums when I went to college, so I didn't play for a few of my, like late teenage, early 20 years. But our friend Sherry, our mutual friend Sherry, brought me to see the Aquanettas, and they needed a new drummer, and it sort of all just worked out.
So, Stephanie, as far as the drumming goes, who are some of your inspirations?
Well, I mean, it was definitely Gina Schock from the Go-Go's. That was pretty much number one, or tied with number one would be Stuart Copeland from the Police. I mean, those were really the two people. And I played constantly, learning drums to Beauty and the Beat and Ghost in the Machine. But I would also have to say that, Larry Mullen from U2 was a big influence, and I would always play along to like War and Boy, those records. I loved X and would always play along to Under the Big Black Sun. I loved Joan Jett. Again, I learned, playing to I Love Rock and Roll, basically. So I mean, those are the bands, but really drummers, when I was young, it was Gina and it was Stuart.
Stephanie, you're an incredible musician and a great drummer from the Aquanettas, one of my favorite bands from New York City and of all time. I know you had the chance to interview your idol, Gina Schock from the Go-Go's. Would you mind if we play that for you?
I would love if you play that for me. That would be for everybody. I mean, I would love if you play that for everybody.
You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
This week, we have a very special guest that's joining us. Singer, songwriter, photographer, published author, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, true rock icon, all-around badass. I'm talking about Gina Schock, the drummer of the Go-Go's.
Thanks, you guys. It's been a wonderful ride.
So, Gina, I want to start with jumping back to 1990.
Yes.
Apparently, you saw Stephanie's band play at the Whiskey in 1990.
Yeah.
You saw my band, the Aquanettas, but I don't.
Yeah, sure. I remember the Aquanettas.
I want to say a special, huge thank you, because if it weren't for your band and if it weren't for you specifically, like I wouldn't. You totally. I'm not just saying this, but you totally changed the course of my entire life, and I just wanted to hold up this ticket stub for viewers at home. This is my first concert ticket ever. It's the Police and the Go-Go's at Madison Square Garden in 1982. And this is, after this show, this is when I asked my dad for a drum set, and he gave it to me. Shockingly, he did.
That's so cool.
That's cool. That I just really, it's such an honor for you to, do this for us. And
well, you know what? It's my pleasure. And when I, hear stories like this, it just makes me feel like I've actually made a contribution. You know what I mean? And because there's so many ways. And the older you get, that you want to contribute to this wonderful world that we live in. And if this is, I'm hearing this a lot these days, and it really makes me feel pretty damn great.
New York City was not the same without the Aquanettas. The Aquanettas conquered New York City nightlife, especially late 80s, early 90s. No, it's true. You ladies rocked it out. So tell us about the Aquanettas, how it started, and what they were all about.
Yeah. Well, it started as not an all-female band. Jill and Debbie started with, they had a guy bass player and guy drummer, and it sort of slowly morphed into all-female. They got Claudine, and I think that actually also they started it possibly out in California, and then they came here. Anyway, so Sherry, like I said, brought me to see the band. I joined them, and really just like a short time later, months, we played at the New Music Seminar, and it was at Rodeo Bar in New York City. And this is sort of after we had built up a nice little following. We definitely had people coming to see us, and it was like, kind of a hot ticket. And we got signed from playing at the New Music Seminar to Network IRS.
And that label was pretty cool at the time, and they still are. I mean, tell us about
They still
Network
are.
IRS. When you got signed, what was that like, and who was on the label?
Well, Network signed us, and we were basically signed to them for Canada. And then IRS was our distributing label in the U.S. So on Network at that time, I mean, they had so many crazy cool bands. They had like Caterwaul, and I believe they had Skinny Puppy, but I'm not sure. They had a lot of, maybe Meat Beat Manifesto was on them because we played with Meat Beat Manifesto, which was a strange show with Nine Inch Nails, too, in Texas. That was like one of the weirdest shows ever. Oh, well, that was just a terrible wrong bill. We actually had to play 2 nights with Nine Inch Nails in Texas, and this was in 1990. And the first night, I think it was the air conditioning was out at the club. We were on first, and there was just think about the crowd of a Nine Inch Nails show. That's not an Aquanettas crowd, and there was no air conditioner, and it was 1,000,000 degrees, and people just started throwing bottles at us, spitting, like whatever. We just had to duck and leave. And then that happened again the next night.
Well, I think that's what's cool about you. You know, the Aquanettas were tough. I mean, hardworking band that just was. I was your roadie.
Yes, you were the 5th member of the Aquanettas. Let's just acknowledge that fact right now.
Rock star photographer Mark Weiss, thank you so much for joining us on Boogie Nights Radio. How you doing, brother?
I'm boogieing on down, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So we're doing a show that has a lot of drum related elements to the show. We have a lot of guests that are on we have the drummer from the Cult, we have the drummer from the Aquanettas, we have the drummer from the Gogos, and I know you've worked as a rock star photographer. You've photographed everybody. You have 5,000 pages in your book, The Decade That Rocked. Tell us about your book and also some of the drummers, but let's start with Tommy Lee.
Well, Tommy Lee is definitely in the book because, Tommy Lee's a drummer. I don't want to say only a drummer because they get a bad rap because they're behind the drums and nobody sees them. But Tommy Lee is kind of like a front man because he's just so flamboyant and wants to be just like the singer. And he literally does that when he does his acrobatics with his drum set. He's like the only one that literally comes on top of the audience and performs. If anyone's seen any of his shows, he twirls around and does his tricks. So, I think drummers are frustrated frontmen, and Tommy Lee definitely holds the rein on that. And in my book, The Decade That Rocked, that you mentioned, the first time I shot Motley Crue was live. Actually, was at the US Festival, 1983, when they were one of the openers for the Van Halen show in California. And let me tell you, like, those guys definitely rocked it. And one of the photos in my book, he was standing on his drum set and just, like, looking at those 300,000 people out there singing Shout at the Devil. And this is, like, the time when that song didn't even, like, no one even knew what it was. But they had him singing Shout at the Devil, like 300,000 people.
Thanks so much for joining us on Boogie Nights Radio. On behalf of SoVal and Dave Pena, we thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the dance floor at Tropicana Atlantic City Boogie Nights.
boogie, boogie night.
But they still boogie.
If you wanna boogie, 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 boogie night.
West End, what they doing? What you been for all day?
If you wanna boogie, 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 boogie night. If you wanna boogie, boogie, boogie night.